is Dr. Ebere Bernard. He is the chief seismologist and geophysicist at Seplat Energy, and he's a seasoned professional as well. Moving on to the agenda for today, we have the opening remarks and introduction of our facilitator. We have webinar presentation, question and answer section, quiz, vote of thanks, and then the announcement and closing remark. So to begin with the opening remarks, I would like to call on the president of the Young Professionals Body in person of Mr. Seun Ogundipe. Mr. Seun, you can have the floor.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Thank you so much for welcoming us to this first technical series, the first technical program for the young professionals of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists. As introduced, my name is Oluwaseun Ogundipe. You can call me Seun Ogundipe. I'm your YP lead, and I want to, at this point, welcome each and every one of you to this first February Technical Series, which is the first technical series for the year. But before I continue, I know that the president in person of John Bosco Uche FNAPE is here with us, and I want to give him the floor to give us some welcome remark before we go into our presentation for today.
All right. Thank you very much, YP. Confirm you can hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, I'm at an event at Kano to see the Vice Chancellor. He's just stepping in, so I may have to leave now to join him. But let me say thanks for this, and I wish you really all the best. And then I will connect again midway.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. John Bosco Uche, everly supportive of the young professionals and our activities. Again, I want to welcome each and every one of you. I know it's a busy Saturday, or it's a Saturday that some of you might want to rest after the busy week. I want to say thank you for creating this time, and particularly to our speaker for today, who has always been supportive of the young professionals right from a very long time. Thank you so much, Dr. Ebere Bernard, for choosing to do this for us. But before I go on, before I call on on our presenter for today, I want to quickly call on the chair of the technical committee of the NAPE-YP in the person of Dumome Abiori. Dumome, just to say some words before Daniela welcomes our presenter for today.
All right. Thank you, Seun. Good morning, President. Good morning, Dr. Ebere. I'm very excited to be part of this because honestly, this aspect of geophysics is something I'm very passionate about. So it's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the section. We should pay attention because AVO, spectral decomposition, inversion, and other tools are very important in de-risking our prospects during exploration. So as the meeting goes on, just pay attention, and if you have any questions, you can write them down. So after the meeting, you can now bring in your questions. So thank you very much. I'm wishing us a fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dumome. Over to the brief profile of Ms. Dr. Ebere Bernard. Dr. Ebere Bernard is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience across the oil and gas industry, groundwater and hydrogeology, military service and sports leadership. He holds a BSc from Uniport, Masters in Exploration Geophysics with distinction from Uniport as well in 2008, PhD in Geophysics from the University of Lagos in 2016, and an MBA from Concordia University in Chicago in 2019. His career started in the military as a paramedic before joining Rivers State Water Corporation as a geologist. He then moved on to laser engineering as a reservoir geologist and seismic interpreter, after which he moved to Sapetro and then Seplat. He has led multidisciplinary staff and with specialized skills in seismic interpretation and static reservoir modeling, well planning and field development studies. integrated studies and asset evaluation. He has worked on international and national assets. Outside of his professional career, Dr. Bernard is passionate about promoting mixed martial arts for youth development in Africa and partners with NGOs to fight cancer. He participated and recorded the only win for Nigeria in the 2024 World Veteran Judo Championship in Las Vegas. You are very much welcome, Dr. Ebere Bernard. We appreciate your time and effort to be here today. Before Dr. Ebere Bernard takes the floor, please, I would like to implore everyone to put off their microphones so that we could have a smooth sailing of this section. Thank you very much. Dr. Ebere Bernard, you can have the floor, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank
May
you,
I
sir.
seek your permission to share my slide?
Sure, sir.
So please do let me know once you can see the slide. May I know if you can see the slide?
Yes, you can see your slide for me.
Is it on a slideshow?
Slideshow. Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. Okay, good morning, friends and industry colleagues. I feel very, very honored to be called upon today for this interactive session, I call it, to share what Amplitude Variation with offset is all about, how we have used it to de-risk exploration prospect and complex development challenges that has to do with field development. For me, it's an honor working with YP for the past 10 years. And it's an indication that even when I grow older and retire, that I will not be hungry. I'll have a lot of people in the industry. Then you guys will be like the GMs and the MDs and directors will be calling upon me to support one way or the other by way of consultancy. So I see this as a very, very big honor to be part of the discussion this morning. Interestingly, for the small period of time I've been in the industry, I have been privileged to work across onshore and offshore basins, notably around Africa, across the Gulf of Guinea, from Sierra Leone, Ghana, offshore Republic of Benin, offshore Nigeria, and then we'll talk about onshore Nigeria Delta, the Chad Basin, the Anambra Basin, Niger. I've been equally privileged to work in the East African axis, Madagascar, Namibia, Tanzania. So by virtue of this small journey, I was privileged to work with some experienced hands where we apply this concept in the risk and exploration prospects. And also by virtue of working presently in Nigeria Data for the past more than 10 years now, we've been able to apply some of this concept to solve key developmental challenges. So the outline of the discussion this morning, we would like to look at the expectation, then a brief introduction on AVO, then we'll look at the exploration prospectivity analysis and the application of AVO, especially when it has to do with exploration case studies. We'll look at its application in reservoir characterization and field development and give some example of case studies who have been involved, and then closing remark. On my end, I want to provide a theoretical overview of amplitude variation with offset. I want to give insight to exploration play concept and risk, vis-a-vis reservoir characterization and field development challenges. I will take time to review the application of the AVO techniques in derisking exploration prospect, and then demonstrate the use of partial angle stacks and inversion for reservoir characterization. So if you look at my screen here, I have like two picture or cartoon to my right, and that just demonstrates. So yeah, there's two cartoons to my right who just demonstrate the principle of seismic acquisition that actually translate to AVO analysis. What I'm trying to say in essence is that for you to be able to apply the concept of AVO, you have to understand how seismic data is being processed. You have to equally understand how seismic data is being acquired. It's key for geophysical application in oil and gas exploration and development. AVO instead stands for amplitude variation with offset. It is a very, very important technique where geophysics directly predict lithology and hydrocarbon. And one of the key data sets that is used is what we call the pre-stack seismic data. By saying pre-stack seismic data, it means that we equally have a post-stack seismic data. I will try as much as possible to see if I can do justice to this. And bearing in mind that we have undergraduates in this group that will want to understand the basic concept. If you look at the picture on the top, I have two layers of geologic formation, layer N and layer N+1. And then on the surface, I have a seismic source, I have a seismic, I have a receiver with a normal, with the source and receiver placed at angle from each other. And we are assuming that the geologic interface between layer N and layer N+1 is horizontal. This obeys the Snell's law, meaning that as energy is detonated or generated, signal is transmitted through layer N. And once you get to the boundary between layer N and layer N+1, it is believed that the velocity of a seismic signal in layer N is different from that in layer N+1, and also the density of the material in layer N different from that from N+1. And by so, part of that signal will be reflected and part will be transmitted to go deeper. The reflected one will be picked by your receiver. And that is what the first cartoon on the top is trying to showcase. But if you look at the cartoon below, you see a collection of incident signals, and also a collection of reflected signals. This is just to explain the fact that even though the first diagram appears to be simplistic, it's actually a beam, like a connection of a signal that's being transmitted and reflected at a particular point. And this is what gives rise to AVO analysis. So in trying to carry out AVO study, what we'll do is to go back and look at the raw, that what we call gather, raw seismic gather that contain this individual traces. And lest I forget, I would like to mention here that one of the most important attributes for seismic interpretation and seismic analysis is the amplitude. And amplitude is more or less a reflectivity, which takes place at the interface between different geologic layers. And that interface, where the reflection takes place, you can have a amplitude deflection to the right or amplitude deflection to the left. And this is what we call a peak or trough. This basic amplitude signal is what we call the wavelength. It's the smallest unit of a seismic signal. When you have a various wavelets stacked together give rise to a trace. And all along in this discussion, we'll be looking at trace analysis. So here, I'm just trying to shed more light on different type of gathers. You have the common short gathers when you're looking at all reflected signals that are coming from the same source. You have the common receiver gather when you're looking at all your reflected signals that are being recorded by the same receiver. You have your common offset, you have your common midpoint, you have your common dump point gather. I've intentionally highlighted the common midpoint and the common dump point gather because it is very, very key in our analysis of our gather and see how the amplitude has varied from the near offset to the far offset. When we say offset, we simply mean the distance between the source and the receiver. Here I have a very simplistic typical workflow adapted for this presentation that for us to be able to apply AVO, we have to use our raw gather. One key thing is that you have to process that raw gather. So the optimal processing of the gather involve a lot of conditioning. Please, can you mute yourself? Involve a lot of data conditioning, where you have to cut out part of the data that are too noisy. I mean, especially in the shallow intervals that are affected by statics, where you have to remove some multiples, where you have to align your reflectivity by carrying out space analysis and all that. Somebody is helping me share the operate my screen. That's fine. So having done that, the next process is now to go into the workflow proper. Again, that's what we call reconnaissance method. That's called modeling of the AVO. That's called inversion. But for purpose of this talk this morning, we are going to dwell more on a reconnaissance method. And reconnaissance method, we are going to use our AVO gather itself, the angle gather, and we can also decompose that angle gather to partial stacks. So partial stacks can reveal a lot of, give us a lot of insights about our prospect, our reservoir. So also is the gradient and intercept. The gradient intercept is the product of some mathematical analysis and graphical analysis of our amplitude data as they vary with offset. I'm going to explain that in detail as we progress. Here I have typical examples of how your seismic gather looks like. This is what we call the pre-stack angle gather. Here, at each CDP, which is common depth point, you have this collection of traces. These traces are believed to be reflected from the same depth point. So you can see how the amplitude begins to change from one trace to the other as you move from the near to the far end. The other example to the right too is the same thing. I'm just looking at different data sets. Two key mathematical equations that are critical in this study is the Archie and Richard approximation, which actually relates your reflectivity, which is the amplitude, to the sine square of your offset angle, and also the tan square of the offset angle. For angles greater than 30 degrees, we want to truncate the third part of this equation and leave it at r theta equals to r into 0 plus what a sine square theta. And then the second equation below, which is the Connolly equation, is used to analyze the partial angle stacks, where you can actually decouple your gather into small range of angles, and then apply what we call elastic impedance. Now, let's look at a typical analysis of an amplitude variation with offset example. On my top right, left here, I have a gather, and it's supposed to, the emphasis here is supposed to look at the top of the gas stand. What do we see? If you look at the B is now the analysis. So B here, we're plotting angle of, we're plotting the amplitude versus sine square of the angle. And then you can see that what we have there is a hyperbola, a reflectivity hyperbola. And like I said, once you begin to cross 30 degrees to 35 degrees, that parabola is no longer uniform anymore, so you cut it off. This parabolic reflection or reflectivity parabola, hyperbola, actually can be used to decipher the type of hydrocarbon, can be used as a DHI. So if you look at the example below, I have a small inset. If you look at where I have the red arrow, which is supposed to be the top of the gas sand, you can see from the near trace to the last trace to the right. One thing that comes into your mind is that these traces are negative. It's not a peak. This is what we call a trough. When it's a trough, you say it's negative. When it's a peak, is positive. What you have there, you have the trough. It's a negative. And it's getting more negative as you move to the far offset. This is a typical example of an hydrocarbon bearing sand of a particular anomaly type. I cannot see my slide anymore. Do I need to reshare?
Yes, please.
So once you can see it again, let me know. You're fine.
We can see it
Yes,
now.
sir, we can.
Okay, I'm here. I know how you did it before. Before I was seeing like a full screen, but I'm no longer seeing a full screen here. But that's fine. I can still see it. So what I'm trying to say here in essence is that by virtue of that reflectivity hyperbola, it's actually difficult to mathematically quantify the property. So one trick on how to do it is to, rather than plotting amplitude variation with the angle, you take a sine square of that angle. By taking a sine square of that angle, you convert that hyperbola to a straight line curve, become a straight line curve. And from the straight line curve, for all the gathered traces you have, trace gather you have in your data, you can now deduce what we call the gradient and equally deduce the intercept. So for this example here, the top of the gas stand, as you can see, you're moving from negative to far more negative. If you plot amplitude or reflectivity versus sine square of the angle, you're going to have a straight line. And that straight line is going to plot in a negative quadrant. You're going to have a negative intercept and you're going to have a negative gradient. If you take below the sand, below the top of that sand, maybe if you see that the peak, you're going to plot on top. Again, it's going to be a straight line. The gradient is going to be positive, and the intercept is going to be positive. We will see how we can apply this concept later on. Now, when you plot the gradient and intercept together, they will plot in different quadrant. It could be negative or positive quadrant, whichever way, which is what we're trying to show here. Normally, by virtue of reservoir classification, you always have a background trend. Outside the background trend, you begin to see your indication of hydrocarbon. In this case, now you have gas, and then you have water very close to the background. So in between the water and the gas, you could have oil, maybe some kind of light oil. This is to say that originally AVO analysis was made, to identify gas. But over the years, we've discovered that if you have a light hydrocarbon, gas with oil with high GOR, you can see the response too. What is still very, very difficult to diagnose is heavy oil, because heavy oil and water tends to have almost the same kind of characteristics. Again, this is another illustration on the classification. Here, you can see the reflectivity on. Look at the cartoon by my left. You can see the reflection coefficient or reflectivity, and then against the angle. And if you look at it carefully, from the top, you have a positive variation of your amplitude with offset. This is associated with very high impedance sand, and this is what we call the class 1 sand. And then if you look below the zero line, then you see the class 3 sand. Class 3 is characterized by negative amplitude, and then it increases, it becomes more negative with offset. And this is characterized by low impedance sand. This is what we call low impedance sand. Below the low impedance sand, you have the class 4. Class 4 too is a low impedance sand. But the peculiar thing about class 4 sand is that it is negative, but it gets less negative with offset. Then I bring it back to the class 2. The class 2 is close to 0. So most at time, you cannot see them on seismic. You have the class 2 positive and the class 2 negative. The class 2 positive, you start with positive, very close to 0. And then as the offset increases, it will not turn to negative. For the class 2 negative, it starts with negativity, but close to 0, and get negative with offset. And how do they plot? In the Rutherford classification, you have different quadrants that can be used to tie the various type of hydrocarbon sand or gas sand. You have the class 1. You have the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. In the first quadrant, you have the class 1. No, in the second quadrant, you have your class 2 sand. Then very close to the boundary between the second quadrant and the third quadrant, you have the class 2 sand, the class 2 positive and the class 2 negative. Then in the third quadrant, you have the class 3 sand, while in the fourth quadrant, you have the class 4 sand. Interestingly, the most common type of AVO class is the class 3, with occasional occurrence of the class 4 and class 2. So this is another example of where by analyzing your gather, your pre-stack seismic gather, using Smith and Gilo algorithms, you can generate the intercept attribute and then the gradient attribute. So if you generate this attribute, you can actually analyze them in a cross plot, which is what you can see to the right. On the cross plot, you see scatters. It's left for you now to go to where you think you have class 3, and then you filter it with a polygon. Where if you have class 4, filter with a polygon anywhere and see how it's going to show on your data. I can see a hand up. Maybe you're going to wait till when we finish before you ask your question. So the example is here. By that filtering, you can see the interpretation now. You can see that the pink line, the pink polygon is plotting, and the yellow polygon is plotting below it. This is a typical example of the presence of hydrocarbon. When you are doing when you are in exploration field, you're not sure of the interplay of the key element of the petroleum system. You can actually use this concept to de-risk and increase your chance of success. I would like to put some kind of geology to the discussion. Everything we'll be talking about things that have been strictly on physics. Putting geology on it, we have to go back to a well or model from a well. Look at this example here. We'll have a well with a couple of sand units modeled together. So what we first of all did was to look at what's going to be the reflectivity of that sand package if I'm looking at a zero offset data. So I'm looking at a near offset, a mid offset, and far offset. What is going to happen? You notice that there's increase in the amplitude reflectivity of the gather of the trace as you move from your zero to your far offset. Again, we want to look at this. Geologists are interested in the rock. What they see every time is the rock. But geophysics is looking at the physics. So we tie the rock to the physics. And here we're trying to do some analysis of what we call high acoustic impedance contrast, moderate acoustic impedance contrast, subtle acoustic impedance contrast, and even negative acoustic impedance contrast. Let me say here that this equation I have above, which is reflection coefficient equals to ρ2 V2 minus ρ1 V1 over ρ2 V2 plus ρ1 V1 is a very, very key equation. This is the reason why we're able to see event on seismic to map. Again, this can be very deceptive, and that is the reason why some companies drill on what is say is a high amplitude on seismic, and they drill into dry hole because we have different type of classes of sand. Some you cannot see them, some are very, very diagnostic. And again, this is also the reason why some company would have farm out a particular feed because they drill 1 or 2 dry holes, and another company will come and they will drill and they make some success. So let's start with this. I have a brine sand overlain with shale, and I see that the acoustic impedance contrast is going to be very, very high. Why? This is because the acoustic impedance of the layer 2, which is the brine sand, is higher than that of the shale, overlying shale. So you expect to have a high reflection to the right, to the positive, which is this peak you're seeing. What happens if that sand is charged with the gas and filled with gas instead of brine? What's going to happen? Gas has less density. Velocity of seismic signal is quite low in gas. So what that happens is that there's going to be drop in acoustic impedance. And so if the sand is filled with gas, you're going to see very subtle impedance contrast. And this subtle impedance contrast means that on seismic, if you are looking at your postal data, you will not see any reflectivity to map. You say, oh, I can't find anything here. So let's look at the second one again. The second one, we're looking at a moderate acoustic impedance contrast, where the acoustic impedance of the brine sand was almost or close to that of the overlying shale. What happened is that the amplitude contrast will be small, will be moderate. What if we replace it with gas? It's going to be a drop further, and when it drops further, it will flip to negative. Also, you have a subtle acoustic impedance contrast when the overlying shale and the sand almost have the same acoustic impedance. Very subtle variation. If you replace that with gas, it will give you a characteristic negative high impedance. And this is one example of your class 3 AVO. Okay, let's even look at this one. In this case now, you have a negative contrast, meaning that the acoustic impedance of the brine sand is lower than that of the overlying shale. We have seen this in practical condition, lower than that of the brine sand. If it now happen that your sand is filled with gas, what will happen? You now it become more negative. But let me put a note of warning here that the amplitude response depends on lithology and also mineralogy. Many a times geologists will just look at only the sand. They look at the gamma and say, oh, this sand is clean. The sand might not necessarily be clean. It could have some mineral admixtures that have anomalous density and can actually affect the rock physics. What about the fluid typing? What about the tuning thickness? If your sand is below the tuning thickness of the seismic, it might be difficult for you to revolve a bit. And that tuning thickness about lambda all over 4. What about the depth of barrier? At different depth window, you expect to see different behavior. And what we say here is that we have to be careful when we are carrying out rock physics analysis and AVO analysis because they are basin specific, field specific, window specific, depth specific. Rate of sedimentation is another one, compaction is another one, and then let's not forget acquisition and processing parameters. How was the seismic acquired? Was it acquired in a AVO friendly manner? If it is not acquired in an AVO friendly manner, you're forcing to carry out AVO evaluation from that data. You might not get the right result. So also the processing, because it is common for managers to push the geoscientists. Oh, we need to carry out AVO analysis. So the company did the AVO and they find it. But your data that you want to use for the AVO analysis, did you process it in AVO friendly manner? What you need to know is garbage in, garbage out. So having looked at that, let's briefly talk about the partial angle stack. So here you see that we try to decompose that gather into various stacks, 8 to 11 degree, 11 to 16 degrees, 16 to 22 degrees, down to 44 to 49 degrees. And if you look at the various partial stacks here, you see that as you go to the far angle, that the amplitude reflectivity is getting more pronounced. And if you look at the right side of that same figure, you see a well model. Here we equally model the same angle variation. At the far angle, you begin to see high amplitude response. So this is to see that by that we should at least move away a little from the traditional seismic interpretation approach where we are bent at looking at post-stack data. Even when you don't even have gathers, ask for if they have your sub-stacks. You have your near, you have your mid, and your far. Analyze them. If you analyze them, you may be able to see one or two things that will help you. This graph explains it all. This is a graph of amplitude versus angle. And you see that at the near angle or the near offset, you can hardly differentiate between your gas discovery and there's an echo somewhere. Can somebody make? Okay, so you can barely differentiate. But as you move towards the far angle end, the far offset at 40 degrees, at 45 degrees, you see that the contrast between your wet sand and your gas sand is in the order of 80 to 100 amplitude. And this can equally help you to differentiate between residual hydrocarbon and hydrocarbon saturation, which is what I try to show here. At a 5 minus 11 degree partial angle stack, and then at a 38 to 44 degree partial angle stack. You see that at the high angle stack, you can see how the carbon presence is being enhanced. This is what we call direct hydrocarbon indication. Having said all this, let me summarize by saying that one of the key goals of AVO analysis, as we've applied it here, is to de-risk exploration prospect. How do we do this? We try to predict the lithology, we try to predict the type of fluid. We start drilling a well. 2, we can equally use the concept of AVO analysis, especially when we're analyzing our partial stacks and carrying out inversion, to characterize our reservoir, understand the reservoir architecture, and this will help us solve some salient challenges that actually bedevil field development. Will help us to eliminate internal architecture. This goes beyond just looking at a structure. And then once you can understand the internal architecture of your reservoir, to help you in optimizing your well planning and help you on how to manage your reserve. Beyond that, we can go as far as estimating other properties: porosity, volumetricity, saturation, stress, pump pressure from the seismic data. Okay, we said we want to look at the application of AVO in de-risking exploration prospect. Here, I have a typical illustration of what exploration prospectivity is all about. In exploration prospectivity, you're looking at the play, you're looking at the prospect, you're looking at leads, and that brings us to the question at what is the play? A play, you can say, it's more like a region where there's a possibility of you finding hydrocarbon. And so when you're talking about play, when you're talking about prospect, when you're talking about leads, you're looking at the potential for you to for hydrocarbon to be discovered. So if you look at the map, the prospect map to my left here, you can see around the middle of the map that there are some high. We have delineated the closure there, and that that high is actually fault assisted. You have 3-way fault, which puts another risk there. What if this fault is not completely sealing? We think we'll be able to have hydrocarbon and trap there, even when other elements of the petroleum system are there. And that takes us to the play and prospect. From a regional perspective, we start to look at play. What are the key elements of the petroleum system? Any of them is there. If any of them is present, it becomes a lead. If we can acquire more data, we can mature the lead to prospect. And once we mature the lead to prospect, which has to do with the collection of geologic features that can accumulate hydrocarbon by virtue of having the key element of the petroleum system present. What are those key elements? You have your source rock, you have your migration, pathway and charge, you have reservoir, you have trap and seal. This is what makes up that. That is to say that from the structure and trap, which you will interpret basically from our seismic, we want to know what is happening in the source kitchen. So we'll do a couple of basic modeling. Sedimentology, do we have reservoir presence? What is the quality of the reservoir? Again, some geochemistry to know whether the source rock is mature and what type of source rock it is. Are we dealing with type 1 kerogen? Is it type 2 kerogen? Is it type 3 kerogen? Is that likelihood that we're going to find gas if we do this exploration well? Or is it likely that it's going to be oil? Stratigraphy, what is the age? The age will tell you about the timing of the event. Is it within the right timing? And before you now talk about computing volume. You see, I've bolded AVO here because it is key in increasing our chance of success by de-risking such prospect. So, for us to make discovery, all these 5 elements have to be present. And in order to evaluate that, we try to quantify the chance of success from 0.05 up to 1. If your chance of success is between 0.7 to 0.8 to 1, that is like 70%, about 70% probability of success. you can beat your chest and say, if I drill this well, I might find something. But again, this depending on the stage of exploration that you are. Are you in near field exploration? Are you in frontier exploration? In frontier exploration, with a 25% chance of success, you can go ahead and drill an exploration well. Even if it turns out to be a dry hole, no problem. You're going to acquire enough data that will help you drill the next well. That is to say that if you drill 10 wells in a frontier basin because of exploration, if you drill 10 wells and 3 of the wells are successful and 7 is wet, that's a big success. And this is what most managers don't know, managers don't know. And that is why if you look at it, the trend now in Nigeria data is that people hardly drill exploration well. So no, what is the value to do that exploration? Are we going to find oil? No, go and open an existing well. Let's see whether we can do workover. But the thing is that even if you do workover, maybe you just do some minor work and then get some additional oil gain or gas gain. But one exploration success can turn the tide for the company and put the company in business, keep the company in business for another 30 years. Okay, at this point, let's just look at 2 case studies from exploration. This is the first one. This is a frontier deepwater exploration case study in offshore Madagascar in one Nova Belopufon. About 10 years ago, I was privileged to be in a Nordic Explorer acquiring seismic in the ultra deep water set in the air. Look to my left, you see a seismic section. In that seismic section, you can see what looks like a wedge. You see that conformity, what looks like a wedge. This is what we call a lead. You can see a stratigraphic trap there. So if we can guarantee that there is source rock, there is charge, there is migration of the right timing and age, there's a high chance that we're going to find hydrocarbon there. At this stage, what do? We went ahead to include what we call a satellite a remote sensing approach. In the satellite remote sensing approach, we monitor on the sea bed, on the sea what we call hydrocarbon leaks. At a point, I have to go to another vessel to sample those leaks based on the coordinate they are giving, and then we took them for analysis in the US. You can see those fingerprints. One of them hardly had any anomaly. One of them has still a lot of anomaly. We have few anomalies from those leaks we analyze, and we will try to put them side by side with a similar analog in the ironclad in the Rovuma Basin. All what we're trying to do at this point was to see if we can increase our chance of success of drilling exploration well in this deep water basin. So, but then even at that, we have to now bring in the concept of AVO. So if you look at below the seismic amplitude section here, I have the AVO product map, which is a gradient as the intercept. You can see the brightening that takes place where we have put that polygon. Again, if you to the right of it, you see a crosstalk. By circling this into the third quadrant, you see that part is isolated. This is an indication that there could be high chance of success if we drill the exploration way here. This is not to negate the implication of the size, because this example I'm showing here is based on a 2D acquisition. So what we did for that was to now commission a 3D seismic. And then with this result, we're able to delineate sub areas within the whole block for 3D acquisition. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to divulge the result of that 3D. More so, I think the company have already farmed out that asset to another international IOC. This is another example again that we have used the concept of AVO to drift exploration. This one here is in Niger Delta. You have two sets of map. with an amplitude draped on it, one on top and one below. The one on top is a discovery. It has almost about, I think it has up to five wells, with gas and light oil. So in order to use this concept to de-risk the one below, which is a new prospect, if you see this, it has a spot assisted. We don't know whether the spots are completely sealing. We currently have a couple of wells in this block that are actually wet, although most of them are optimally drilled. So you want to be careful before you go and put a new well on this prospect. So one way we have to do that is to use the AVO concept. So here we took an AVO trace along the well, one of the wells that made discovery in the field, as you can see. You see that what we see on the trace gather analysis, you have a negative response, and it gets what more negative with the offset. And when we plotted it on the classification chart, it's plotting on a class 3 and it's far away from the background. This means that you have this is likely a class 3 AVO anomaly, and it's gas. Of course, we've already confirmed that we have gas. So just to double check that, we took a gather trace just outside the accumulation. As you can see, you have a positive anomaly, and then it gets more positive as you move away from the offset. And if you look at the chart, when plotted on the classification chart, it's plotting almost inside the background. That means that this has to do with wet reservoir section. So if you now use that same concept on the prospect, to gather trace and analyze it, what do we see? We see negative, and it gets more negative with offset. And when you plotted it on the chart, it shows that it's a class 3. This has increased the confidence for us to put a well here. As I'm talking to you now, a well has been planned to be drilled in this particular reservoir. Location preparation is all set. I think sometime, sometime this year, an exploration well is going to be drilled here. Credit to the AVO validation and derisking. Okay, having said that, let us quickly look at some application of AVO concept in reservoir characterization and field development. Normally, at field development level, we work with maps. From map, we go to models. From models, we need to think of new wells to be drilled. As we drill this new well, we collect data, we update the model, and we optimize the field development. We cannot say, oh, we are going to drill 10 additional wells, 15 additional wells. So we'll come up with what we call a FDP. So AVO concept can actually help us to understand internal reservoir architecture and improve reservoir characterization, because at this stage, there's always a lot of challenges. Yes, it's easy to just build your model and take cross-section. You can see your gas contact, you can see oil contact, you can see water contact, you can see down to, you can see forward. In some cases, we miss it out when we don't factor in the internal architecture of the reservoir. And we have seen from experience, there are fields where two wells are just like 50 meters apart, and then they have different contacts. We can't explain. You have a well at the flank, you drill a well at the flank, you find hydrocarbon, put a well on the crest, it's wet. In some cases, you put a well, you feel that it's at the sweet spot, it's performing poorly. For production decline, many times you see reservoir engineers, see the team running to call the geologist. Geologists cannot solve it after doing all the correlations. They will come back to the geophysicist. Say, please, can you carry out QI for us? That's what they always say. They don't want to know whether you have the right data, whether you have the data to carry out, do this evaluation. They say, can you do QI for us? QI will answer this question. But again, I want to say here that QI is not a panacea. It must be of the right condition and the right data set. So I would give some few case studies of how we've applied that. This is a matrix plot of different elastic attributes, but I want us to pay attention to these two I just highlighted. The first one is elastic impedance based on a partial angle stack between 10 degrees and 20 degrees. The second one is between 40 degrees, so 50 degrees and 60 degrees. I have a couple of them, but I just want to emphasize on these two. Now, to the right, I mean, in the left axis of this, y-axis of this plot, you have various elastic attributes, mu rho, lambda rho, and all that. But let's pay attention to the elastic impedance at 10 to 20 degrees and 50 to 60 degrees. We look at, and then let's not forget, I have plotted porosity at the third axis on this graph. The very green means low porosity value, while the blue to pink means high porosity value, good reservoir, good phase shift, good reservoir. The low porosity, shale, coal streak, and all that. If you look at the 50 to 60 degree partial angle stack impedance, model from the log, you cannot differentiate the high porosity from low porosity. There's overlap. But if you look at the 10 to 20 degree elastic impedance partial track, you can see a trend that helps you to discriminate the good quality high porosity sample phase shift and then the poor quality phase shift. That meaning that you can actually do detailed analysis on that particular partial stack. So what we did was to do inversion on that. And on the kind of that inversion, you could see this curvilinear geometry. You have what looks like a channel running through, and you have the background phase shift. But let me say this clearly. Before we did this exercise, you look at the left, there's a map. This is a structural map, top structural map with hydrocarbon. This field was discovered like almost 50 years ago. Close to 50 years ago. A couple of wells have been drilled. 2 wells have been in production, although they've quit now. But interestingly, you see that there are 2 wells within the hydrocarbon pool that actually worked. We were unable to explain this, even the previous operators, and this has hampered putting more wells on this particular reservoir. And interestingly, we have over almost 50 million barrels of oil by way of storage in this field, and yet less than 1 million has been produced for more than 40 years. That is not good. But I can tell you that with this revelation by way of analyzing a partial angle stack and kind of this elastic impedance inversion, you can see the map below. The map below has the channel geometry superimposed on the structure. You can see clearly why the well to the west did not find the carbon. That well was drilled outside the channel. So you can see the limit of that. And also, what you have to the east has different contact with what you have to the west. And this has helped us now to propose 3 new wells. So when I say that with AVO, you can actually resolve a complex deployment challenges. This is a typical example. This is another example where we're trying to figure out type of fluid and all that using an AVO. If you look at, let's start with the figure below. The figure below shows you a channel sand, have a gamma ray, you can see that, and then you have they're a bit dirty towards the top, but you can see the resistivity. This is a gas reservoir. So in trying to see how this will behave with AVA, what we did was to model and do fluid replacement. So we model the gas brine response. Model brine response. And what do we see? If this reservoir were filled with brine before now, it was expected that this would have been would have had higher acoustic impedance than the overlying shale. But the presence of the gas has reduced it. So you see that this gas can have lower acoustic impedance than the overlying shale, which may possibly correspond to the class 3 anomaly. But let's look at what the stacks are saying. Here we look at on the seismic now, we look at the near stack, we look at the far stack and do a derivative. What is the derivative? Far minus near times far. Far minus near times far is what you can see on your top right corner. You can see the boom there. So when I say that, what you cannot see on your post-start data, if you can play with your gather, it can enhance and give you that direct adequate indicator. So what am I trying to say here? You can see the impedance response of the overlying shale. This is the impedance response of your gas. Okay, I misread that one. Okay, this is that of water. This is that of the gas. So, like I said before, if you match this interpretation to this plot, you see that you're dealing with a class 3. See how the class 3 plot is negative, and it gets more negative with offset. This see the same example, but looking at the seismic this. But before we look at the seismic, what we did was to take a gather trace again. In this case, we didn't have the complete angle gather. We only have near, mid, and far. So what we did was to do what? Combine them together and do what we call a pseudo stack. So that your pseudo stack will have only 3 traces, which is what you're trying to analyze here. And again, when you do this analysis, this gives you negative, and then it gets more negative. When we plotted it, it plots on the third quadrant, so which is typical class 3. It's okay. Since the well has given us this, can we confirm that on the seismic? So we did intercept and gradient analysis, generated intercept and gradient attribute, and plotted the seismic. When you take this polygon here on the third quadrant, you can see how it aligns to the top of the structure. So this has validated our claim, if I would say so. So as a way of concluding remark, let me say that the common exploration and prospect analysis carry potential risks of dry hole. We cannot overemphasize that. So before you go and put $12 million, $15 million, $20 million to do an exploration well, we have to make sure that we do all the necessary things we're supposed to do. And one of the key things is to make sure that we de-risk that prospect by using an independent techniques, independent methodology, independent workflow, which is using AVO. Field development are associated with inherent challenges because many times we don't have poor understanding of the geology. You can look at well and say, oh, gamma ray is coasting upward, finding downward. That is not enough. You can correlate your wells together. You don't know what is happening between the wells. At times, you need to model the geology from seismic, which when Basho comes in. You might be surprised. You have a better characterization of your reservoir. I would say that AVO will remain a robust technique for de-risking exploration play and equally resolving uncertainty in field development. I'm not saying it from a theoretical perspective. I'm saying it from a practical perspective because I have applied this concept. Okay, we started earlier on by saying, I'm going to ask some questions now. I mean, get your view that want to give a theoretical overview of the amplitude variation with offset. Please confirm if we are able to do justice to that. I know that if we want to deal with the concept of AVA alone, 1 week training will not be enough. We're going to solve a lot of mathematics. It'll be boring to some people. Some people will find it interesting, some will not find it interesting. But with the little overview we have given and the supporting examples and analogy, do you think that we've done justice in giving that brief overview of amplitude variation with offset? If you said no, no problem, so we can build on that and see areas to improve on. Okay, should I take that as a, okay, somebody want to speak?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. My name is Daniel Itiaka. I actually did this in my BSc project. Sir, I'm a bit confused about that intercept. I want to ask a question. Can you go back to the slide where you have that intercept?
No, we'll go back to questions. We'll go back to questions if you can hold it. I just want to know whether you are happy with the brief overview on the AVO concept.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Then the second one, we still want to give insight on exploration play concept, risk, reservoir characterization, and field development challenges. Did we meet your expectation, or your expectation was not met? Okay, I'll see that as okay. We still want to review the application of AVO techniques to de-risk exploration prospect. Do you think we have done justice with a few examples?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Then lastly, we say, okay. Lastly, we say want to demonstrate the use of AVO partial stacks and inversion for reservoir characterization. Do you think what we showed was convincing enough? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for listening. But we are going to go into Q&A. Before the Q&A, I have a quiz. If you don't mind, we can deal with the quiz now. Just 10 questions. President.
Yes.
Can I go ahead
Dr. Bennett.
Okay. Or you want to ask the question from there? This is the first 5 questions.
Yes, I'll just hand over to the moderator, Daniela. So
okay.
I think what we'll do is we'll avoid the use of mics. If we have to use mics, we have to use the raise hand option. But Daniela would lead us through whether we should use the chat box strictly or we can also combine that with the mic. But Daniela, yeah, there are 10 questions. Just guide us through how you want us to go about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bernard, for your presentation. I really learned a lot. So for the quiz, I would love us to put our answers in the chat box. There would be 10 questions. So we want 5 winners only, and you are meant to answer 1 and 2 simultaneously. 1 and 2 simultaneously, we pick our winner. 3 and 4 simultaneously, we pick our winner. You can't answer just 1 question. You are answering 2 questions. So 1 and 2 is a pair. 3 and 4 is another pair. So you're going to have to answer that in the chat box. I hope that I'm understood.
Yes, we can go ahead with it.
So we can go ahead with 1 and 2. We'll be taking note of the answers in the chat box. Okay, we can go to 3 and 4 now. And then we can go to 5 and 6 now. Dr. Bernard, please, I would like you to move on to the next slide.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want to take the answers for this first 5? You want to record them?
Sir, you would do that, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes, sir. But we'll have to do the quiz.
No problem.
First.
So
okay, sir.
This is the next 5 questions.
5 and 6, you can drop your answers in the chat box. Okay, yeah, we can move on to 7 and 8. Question 7 and 8. Okay, I believe that all the questions have been answered. The winners are the first people that got the answers correctly, and they'll be reached out to. So, Dr. Bernard, you can start with the answers to the questions, sir.
Okay. Okay, for number 1, the answer is C. Are you recording? Are you recording, ma?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. For 2, the answer is C. For 3,
Okay, sir.
3, the answer is B. Did I mix something?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't know whether I mixed something up. Did I? Number 2 is B. Of course, you're seeing
Okay.
it. Mm. 4, you can see 4. 4 is
Yes,
that is
4 is B.
good. Okay, good. 5. Done?
Can't see 5 yet, sir.
Ah,
Number 3 is not clear.
okay, let's go up again. Number 1, C. Number 2, C. Number 3, C. Number 4, C.
B.
Yeah, number 4, B.
Number 5.
Did you get it?
Number 5, C.
Did you get it? Did you get it?
Number 5, C. Are you okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please, can
So,
we mute our mics? Thank you.
okay, let's go to the next 5 questions. Okay, number 6 is C.
C.
Yeah. Number 7 is A. Number 8 is C. Number 9 is B. Number 10 is C.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
All
The
right.
winners will be contacted We'll be moving on to the question and answer section. And for orderliness, if you want to ask any questions, please raise your hand and then we'll tell you to ask your question. Thank you very much. Alexander, I see that your hand is up. You can ask your question.
Okay, can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Dr. Bernard, thank you so much for such an insightful webinar section and eye-opener on AVO again. You did a lot and explained a lot within the time frame. We know that AVO is more than what you just put together here, and if you really want to expatiate on it, you will need more time. But I wanted to ask you to throw more light on AVO window. AVO, that aspect, you mentioned it as one of the preconditions to look out for before even going ahead to even consider a seismic to be AVO certified, or that AVO will actually work for it. So kindly throw more light on that particular aspect, that condition of AVO window or depth window. That's my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I will start with the well first. Many times, first of all, we have to model AVO from our well. And of course, you know that your well resolution is always better than your seismic. Because your crossplot is showing you on the well that the anomaly can be diagnosed in where you're working, does not actually mean that if you now apply your seismic, you're going to get the same result. Like I said before, one, it's a function of how that seismic was acquired. Let's say the seismic was acquired in the 70s and it's a short offset, I mean, narrow azimuth and other low fold that can only image up to, say, 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. And now, of course, when you're giving the seismic data, you have up to maybe have reservoirs when they do the well up to like 10 feet, 11 feet. You see that it's garbage in, garbage out. Because that seismic was not, when they were acquiring that seismic, they weren't carrying in the mind that they want to do AVO work in the future. Whatever you're doing, whatever attribute you're trying to derive, you know, you're just wasting your time because you're going to mop up noise, and throw in as anomaly, and that's one of the reasons why people do dry hole when they want to do AVO, when they want to apply AVO concept. That is one. Most of the algorithms we use, especially from rock physics space, they are empirical equations. Most of them are not designed for the business where we are working and the windows we are working. It's research that somebody did elsewhere. And then because they are in literature, does not mean that you have to take them and swallow them, hook, line, and sinker. You must have a way of calibrating it with a known observation and information. So that's the only way you're able to do that. And again, when you're doing your crossplot, even when you're doing crossplot from the well first, because you have to start from the known to unknown, advise that you take small depth window to do the analysis. The trend you establish in window A might be different from the trend you establish in window B because the geology is not the same. Geology is changing. And so when you now go into the AVO space, especially like say you want to do like AVO crossplots, I mean intercept and gradient, my advice is that take a narrow window when you're doing your plot. Otherwise, you just model up different background values, and that will smear off. You're not able to see what you tend to see. So I don't know whether I have done justice to that question.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Just to add one thing again, is there a depth or a time limit in terms of the seismic at maybe so milliseconds, which that AVO window space cannot be applied? Then when you want to tie it within your time and your depth in your well.
No, you can apply AVO in every window, but like I said, it's a function of how the data was acquired. If the data is acquired a short offset, it's not going to go beyond 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds. And most of the data in Nigeria data here that I know falling into that range. There's a particular field we worked on. We are only able to do inversion for the shallow reservoirs. We couldn't do it for the deeper reservoir because the seismic resolution is very poor. You know what we call spherical divergence? You know, so it's only when
Yeah.
you do
Yes. Okay.
when
Yes.
when you acquire seismic and from the beginning you design it with long offset. If you use long offset cable, it means that you'll be able to image deeper. As I'm talking to you now, we are working on
Yes.
a campaign to acquire new seismic, and these are the things we are throwing in. In fact, we are even proposing up to 10 kilometers cable offset. You can imagine, so that we can go as deep as
Wow.
8 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds.
Okay.
If I go 8 seconds, 7 seconds, if I process that seismic data, I'll be able to do AVO and to give you information to those deeper windows.
Okay. I get you now, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay, OJ Athoja, you can please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. I actually have my question on the Q&A section, so but I'll just ask it. Doc, thank you very much for the presentation. It's always nice listening to you. Like, yeah, so it's always a pleasure listening to you. So I think the last question you touched on what I was having in mind concerning my first question. So for your second case study for the exploration, so I just wanted to know the type of setting that we are dealing with, whether onshore or offshore, as well as the EOD, because I understand that seismic response actually varies with barrier as well as the nature of the overburden of the target reservoir. Then also, I really want to maybe should throw a bit of insight into how issues of tuning and maybe loss of resolution, especially in maybe some data sets you discover, especially in the far offset, you see that there's some kind of loss of resolution. So how do you account for that before you go ahead with your interpretation?
Okay, simply put, I will just take you back to acquisition design. If you're using this very old data that have been acquired, legacy seismic, you're going to be in big trouble.
Okay.
So in fact, my guys, that's the way I talk. I say, just because they say, oh, this work require AVO analysis, require quantitative interpretation, does not mean you just plunge yourself. Sit down, look at the data, screen the data, ask for the acquisition report, ask for the processing report, go through and see whether the seismic is being acquired and processed in an AVO-friendly manner. If it is not, tell them, I'm sorry, I can't use this data to do what you asked me to do. You now give recommendation for them to acquire seismic. And that is actually what we are currently doing now.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the last.
Let me just add, even after this section, if you have my number, you're free to drop me chat if you still have any question you want to ask. We'll attend to it.
Okay, sir. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so well,
it will pick it, no problem.
we have another hand up, Julius Adesun. Please take the microphone.
Okay, thank you very much, and Dr. Bernard, thank you very much for the session. So I will paint this scenario, and I would like to tap into your wealth of experience. So, in a situation where this is purely exploratory, right? In a situation where you do not have an overlap seismic available, and then though there's a control well nearby, how will you approach AVO application in that regard? So is this something you still suggest one can find a way around to do? And then the second one is on the chance of success that you earlier shared in your presentation. So I want to find out, is this something one can take as an industry conservative number? And you made mention of geophysics. I would appreciate if you can narrow that down.
I don't know whether you can you take the
Hello.
second question again, because at the point we were losing, I was losing you. The second question.
Okay. So the second question is on the chance of success, where you showed the table showing the probability of chance of success. So I'm asking that, is this something we can take as a industry standard in this part of the world? I mean, talking about the Niger Delta region now. And then there are a couple of places where you mentioned geophysical support. So I wanted to believe there are critical success factor to consider when it comes to that geophysical support. So I will appreciate if you can just break it or simplify it further, just for benefit of learning. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's fine. One thing I would like to say here is that the advancement in seismic technology, especially AVO, I would just say is between 10 to 20 years old. From seismic stratigraphy, blah, blah, DHI, then it came to AVO concept. And this was because people were making mistakes earlier on when they were using DHIs, just by looking at amplitude boom on amplitude section. Yes, they make few success, and then they begin to run into problems because residual carbonate streaks, things like that, can actually give you those bright spots. So when the concept of AVO came in, it has been refined over and over and over. And you agree with me that much of this work have not been done in Niger Delta. So those examples you're seeing are based on global example of research that people have done. Again, I'm responding to the chance of success. So again, when we say chance of success, is probability. So anything that is probability is subjective. So how I allocate scores to variance of source, charge and migration, trap, reservoir might be different from how if and crazy we want to do that. I might say, oh, I think that the source, let me give the chance of finding source here, let me give it 80%. Another person might say, let me give it 70%. But it's something that you have to review within your team and look at case studies within your environment. What do I mean by that case study? That's what we call dry hole analysis. In the block you're working, how many dry holes have been drilled? How many wells have been drilled? How many were successful? How many were not successful? The ones that were not successful, where were they not successful? Were they doing off structure? Were they doing on the structure? What happened? By the time you answer all these questions, you're able to come up with a realistic table of your own that you can adopt. And when I say geophysical support, you agree with me that you have your map, it's showing that you have a structure. I mean, there's a nearby discovery, so you feel that there is source, there is migration, you have reservoirs all over there. Are you sure whether you are going to have hydrocarbon? Because we have drilled on such structures, they have drilled on those such structures, and they don't find anything. So, and this question always comes, is it amplitude supported? I don't know whether you've heard that before. When somebody says, is it amplitude supported? That's structure. At the exploration, you must ask that question. Because if not drilling well, how much is it going to cost you to carry out this AVO analysis? Nothing. But if you go ahead and go and drill that well like that on that structure, you are losing $20 million. So long as you do the AVO work well, remember I say do it well. If you model the workflow, instead of taking small window for analysis, you're taking from 1 millisecond to 3 milliseconds. Background is going to max what you're looking for. And again, the data you are using, is it well processed? Is it acquired to solve that problem? I recall working in some deep offshore asset in Niger Delta. They acquired seismic more than 3 vintages over 10 years. They acquire one, they don't know. They say this is not given what we want to do. They tweak the parameter again, they shoot another one. This one has nothing to do with 4D. It has nothing to do with 4D. Oh, we're not looking at seeing the fault where it's like the fault trending in a different direction, and the azimuth of this acquisition is not capturing it. They shoot another one. oh, this one does not help us see the AVO anomalies very well. Okay, let's design new parameters. They should another one to answer that. But unfortunately, if you're working with small companies and you tell them, oh, because the previous data that we have, even though we have angle gathers, are not acquired in AVO friendly manner, so I cannot answer this question. Please, can we acquire seismic here? Nobody will listen to you. So it's a trade-off. Then the last one, when you talk about seismic overlap and control well, nearby control well. I don't understand what you mean by seismic overlap.
Okay, I say in the absence of seismic overlap across outside the acreage you are working, but you have a control well from that nearby block. You know, most of these marginal feed, they are covered with
Okay, we
limited.
understand you. What you're saying is that you have seismic on your acreage, you want to do a view analysis, but you don't have anywhere, but you have a well nearby from another field or another acreage.
Yeah, so the chance of success is what I'm trying to ask here. That is this something you will advise one should still go ahead to apply AVO at exploratory, because there are one or two where in the acreage that was given, but they are all wet in a way. But you have a nearby feed where you have a well existing, but your seismic do not extend to that axis.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get the question.
I get you. So to do AVO analysis, I don't need a well. It's only when I want to do the modeling I have to start using well. To carry out AVO. And I've been issue. AVO was designed for exploration. It was later we started using them to solve development problem challenges. Being innovative, become innovative, research, tweaking one or two things. Otherwise, I've been issue. AVO was designed for exploration. Instead of going to drill a well, do AVO to support. So if you have, say, 5 prospects, and 2 of them are supported by AVO, and the other 3 are not supported by AVO. So you're going to rank the 2 that are supported by AVO higher than the other 3, and so they become prioritized for exploratory drilling.
Okay, so
does that answer your question?
Yeah. So well control is not really necessary, because that's what I'm getting from you now. That what you
No,
are saying?
I'm not. No, don't misquote me.
Oh,
well
okay.
control is still necessary, because while you say that it's wet, the question I will ask you: was it drilled at the flank of the structure? Was it drilled off structure? Was it drilled on the structure? The structure that was drilled on, is it a forward deep closure, or is it a fault assisted closure? So ask all these questions. Probably those wells, like in Nigeria, that most of the wells that we found dry were actually drilled based on 2D, and most of them are drilled off structure.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Doc.
All right.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a question in the Q&A box, so I'll be reading that out. How can rock physics feasibility studies help validate fluid and lithology effects before conducting AVO analysis for exploration derisking, considering the challenge of non-analogous rock physics properties to the target sand reservoir?
It's on strong. The question alone is a textbook. Okay, fine. Like I always tell people, the rock physics is like a lie detector. It's a bridge between your geology and geophysics. If you have the right seismic data, I still emphasize, if you have the right seismic data, rock physics will demystify any kind of ambiguity that you have. Once you establish, like I said, you do window by window, you know what works. Of course, your seismic evaluation you're going to do, is it not within, are you not going to post the well on the seismic? You're going to post the well on the seismic. It's only when you're going deeper, when well has not been penetrated. If the well has not been penetrated, that's a different kettle of fish. So you treat that as how do I put it? As an appraiser scenario. You treat that as an appraiser scenario, which means it's going to carry what? Much risk. Even though you're seeing AVO response at that level, you can still put the question mark because it has not been tested by anywhere to confirm. You have to drill a well to confirm whether it is oil or water or gas, isn't it? Or whether it is condensate. You have to drill a well. As long as you do not drill a well, I mean, you can't say, just put a question mark. But if they compare that prospect with another one that doesn't have the AVO response, they will still go for this one. And let me tell you, I mentioned it before, AVO is not a panacea. Because we have seen cases where, with all the bright spot, blah, 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 they still dry hole. Because residual hydrocarbon can give you AVO response. Hard streaks, like carbonate streaks, can give you AVO response. In some cases, carbonates, volcanics, a lot of things can give you AVO response. So you have to be very, very careful and systematic as you go about this. And that's why it's always integrated. Where you're not clear, you invite the geologists. Where you're not clear, you invite the petrophysicists. Where you're not clear, you invite the regional geologists to tell you about the tectonics, even the basin. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. So because of time, we'll be taking the last question. So Abel Oluwamuyiwa, you can take the microphone.
Please, you will allow me to ask my questions, please.
Please allow them. Allow them, I beg you.
Okay, you can ask the question after Abel. Thank you.
Please confirm you can hear me, please. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for that beautiful presentation. It's quite insightful and informative. I just want to ask two questions actually. My first question is: does polarity affect the AVO class of plotting? With regards to the intercept and the gradient, that's the A and B plotting, does polarity affect it? And my last question is more like an observation. I have little experience on this thing, but looking at the question you set for us, the last question, I think question number 9 now, if I'm not wrong, where you ask what class of AVO anomaly is depicted in figure 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the third top that you pointed out is looking at like the negative people, if I might use that word, which is the trough. And my understanding is that is decreasing the class 4 AVO. If we're looking at maybe the positive wiggle, which is the dark colored, black colored, which would be the peak. And if that's the stand, then we can be considering maybe class 3 AVO, which will be increasing. So I just want to be sure that I was not looking at the wrong thing or something. Just to be sure.
Was it the trough you were looking at or the peak?
So the top stand, the wiggle is going to be.
That's what I'm saying now. Is it trough? Is it not the trough?
Yeah, that's the trough. Yes, correct.
So in your own view, is it increasing with offset or decreasing? Is it getting more negative or is it getting more less negative?
I'm looking at it like it's decreasing. That's I'm asking. Like I don't know.
I say, is it getting more negative or is it getting less negative?
No, it's getting less negative.
Are you sure? It's not getting less negative. It's getting more negative. If you put a line, to cross that trough you're seeing, you see that it gets more negative as it's going to the offset. I'm sure some other person got it correctly. Does anybody got it correctly that can just raise your hand here and clap? Let's happen. It's a class 3. It's a class 3 AVO. It's getting more negative with offset. Don't worry. Here now, whether you get it right or get it wrong, don't worry. It's just to show the concept. I think we can keep on building the knowledge. But it's a class 3 AVO. It's getting more negative. If it is live on the system, because this one is a live data. If you line on the system, on that you can just put your cursor there. If you put your cursor, you can read the amplitude value. You put your cursor on the next one, read the blue. As you see that it's getting more negative, more negative. Okay, then the other one is say polarity, right?
Yes, perhaps the cross plot would have helped.
Yes, polarity affects your AVO response. I mean your intercept. It's very key. It's a major issue. That is why I said you need to find out how the seismic was processed. Ask for the processing report. Generally, we have two types of polarity convention. We have the SCG, which is the American convention and widely accepted. We have the European convention. In the European convention, your peak is taken as a negative, while your trough is taken as a positive. But in the convention, your peak is a positive, your trough is a negative. So if you don't know, let's say they process your data with a European convention and you use it to do AVO, and you're treating it as if it is a SCG convention, you will make mistake. Because where you have water, it will give you plot as if it is hydrocarbon. And where you have hydrocarbon, it will plot as if it is wet. But one way we correct it, if you're lucky and you're working in onshore environment, even though you don't have access to the processing report, is to look at the seabed reflectivity. Because on seabed, you have water on top of the sediment. So you will see whether your seismic is deflecting to the left or to the right. So if it's deflecting to the left, it means that data is processed with European convention. Ordinarily, you expect it to deflect to the right. So when you acquire data, I mean, now most of you are young geoscientists, you're going to be in the industry for the next 20 years, 30 years. So when you are involved in a project working with the vendors, during the processing, you tell them how you want them to process your data. You have to discuss the polarity. Does that answer your question?
Yes. That does. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Berry Bernard, this is Ifeanyi Kweze. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I just have two short questions to ask, so I don't take much time. My first question is, so what do you look at for? What do you look at for in an acquisition and processing report? To be sure that the acquisition and processing of the seismic data was AVO friendly. The second question is, from your experience, I saw from one of the slides, you worked in Angolan offshore basin. Of course, which it's salt. They have salts over there.
Yeah,
so some of the discoveries they have many discoveries within the salt. And in a particular block where you have interplay of salt and sand, channel sand and co, and they are discovering the salt part, and they are looking at the possible prospect around the channel sand. So how do you plan for the AVO, considering the fact that these are two different lithologies, so to speak? Do you advise? What is your advice, in terms of modeling the AVO on the well, which has some discovery in the salt, but you are looking at a possible prospect in the channel sand area, or should I just rely only on the seismic data alone?
If I understand you, has the well been drilled in the close to the salt dome?
Yes, and it was there was a discovery.
Okay. So and again, if I understand you very well, if you are around that salt dome, because you're going to have a salt diaper, so to say, you're going to have a lot of port-related and also entrapment, sargassum entrapment due to the salt diaper, and there will be some velocity anomaly because of the salt, blah blah, that will affect. Not a problem. So what you're going to do, one way you're going to handle it is you do what we call rock physics and AVO modeling. So when you do rock physics modeling, you're going to model all the scenarios. Are you with me? You're going to model them and see the response, and that model what the response is going to be like on seismic. There's a whole gamut of rock physics templates. You can invoke anything. You can change mineralogy. You can change what do you call it? What do you call all this? A lot of constants. You can play with them. Oh, this sand has a 30% of shale. It has a halite in it. Once you do that, it means that the physics of that sand is going to change. Oh,
Okay.
this one has this. It has this. It has 2% of this. The physics again will change, and then you now model what the AVO response is going to be like. So when you do all that, where you have your prospect, you just bring that model and put it side by side and see which of them closely mimic what is in your prospect. That becomes the first name you're going to give that prospect. I'll call it AVO naming.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. It's
All right.
the second one. What do I look at for in a processing and acquisition report to make sure that it's AVO friendly?
Okay, so in the processing report, they will tell you everything they have done in processing. For example, now we have this full wave inversion, which they claim is an improvement over the other technology. It takes time, but it gives you better resolution. It eliminates all this foreshadow effect within Nigeria data at the back of a regional port. It eliminates structures better. Again, you have to look at the type of amplitude gain that was applied. You don't want them to have applied any algorithm that alter the original amplitude of the seismic that was required. Once they carry out any processing methodology that alters the original amplitude that was acquired, it's a problem, because AVO is all about amplitude. So you make sure that the original amplitude of the formation is preserved. That's what you look at for in your processing report. Then, in the acquisition report, you want to see the parameters used in designing the seismic. You want to be happy that it's long offset, full fold, you understand, multi-azimuth. Because with this, you'll be able to you'll be more confident on the fidelity of data you're using for your analysis. I see a friend here raising hand. I think they should allow him to speak, Mr. Azuka.
Mr. Eze Azuka, you can.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bernard. I appreciate it.
It's an expert that we can benefit from. Okay,
Good
thank
morning,
you.
all everybody. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can. We
We can hear you. Okay, my name is Eke Azuka Stanley. I'm a full-time professional in seismic data processing. When it comes to looking out for AVO-friendly data and to ensure that processes being applied to the seismic does not affect the AVO response to your seismic, one, as a client rep or as a client, you should make sure that each process has been applied to the seismic from the onset, from despiking, from denoising. When you do your difference plot, your primary and your output, ensure that your primary event are not lost, because if you lose your primary event due to some denoising, it's affecting the amplitude gradually as it's going. And again, most of the effect of amplitude have been noticed during post-processing. Just as I mentioned, post-stack stuff, just like I mentioned FWI. We also have things like what's it called again? ROTM. Those kind of migrations, they alter generally the relationship between the AVO and the offset, because they are looking forward to pick out some structures that are hidden. And in so doing, they are packing out some other differentials within the seismic to make up the structures. So some post-stack structural enhancement algorithms on processes destroys this. So that's why it's advisable, basically, that use your pre-stack data set, which have not gone into some stacking effect, so that you get your true amplitude from the traces individually based on source and receivers. So that can help you to get them. So that can help you get a true picture of your amplitude and offsets, as against when it's being stacked and some other parts from the seismic to bring out the structures. structural effect does also give rise to true amplitude positioning. I don't know if that is clear.
Yes, thank you so much. But just a follow, just one follow up. Thank you for the clarification. But most times, like from my own little experience, I've thought really like seen most companies. I don't know, maybe I don't know whether it's cost. Maybe from your experience, you can also throw more light. Having pre-stack data, rather we have partial stack or we call the angle stack. So in terms of preserving the amplitude response with what you just explained, how realistic do we have or do we get these responses from partial stack if we don't have the full pre-stack data?
Let me come in before he reacts. There's no way you have your partial stack without your angle gather. You always have angle gather. The thing is that, like I said, the technology is just improving and becoming popular now. So many times when they process data, what the client is just asking for is give me the poster, let us go and interpret the structure.
Yeah.
But they have the gather. So if you request for it, they will give you. Did you get me?
Okay.
Yes. So and when you take that, it even gives you the opportunity to now decompose it into small pseudo gathers.
Angles.
10 to 20 to this, 15 to this, beyond your near, mid, and far. I tell you something. At times, service vendors capitalize on ignorance of companies when they don't have a qualified personnel. Some 10 years ago, we acquired seismic like that, and they promised us they are going to image to basement, blah, 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 resolution. We tested the geostreamer technology first with a CGG, no PGS. Lo and behold, they were not able to give us the resolution we wanted up to the depth they claimed, which was in the contract. Do you know what they did? They now process gradient and intercept volumes. And now they were not telling my manager that to compensate for that part of the contract, that they're giving them this one free. When I came in, I said, no, you didn't do us anything free. I will generate this gradient and intercept myself. You don't need to generate it for us. I have access to the gathers. I will generate it myself. So just to add to that clarification you say, it's a function of how well you are passed with the business. Because if you don't know your onions, people will capitalize on that and cheat you, if I want to use that word. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Emmanuel, your hand is up. You can ask your question. Emmanuel, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Emmanuel? Oh, okay. Please ask your question. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I would say I was invited to this meeting by a friend from the start. So from everything they are saying here, I understand what they are saying. But actually, I'm an engineering student, graduated as mechanical engineering. But about this IVO of the thing and this rig of the thing, I really don't get the basic. So I don't know if I should be here or not. But I would really like to know a simple, detailed explanation of what IVO is.
Okay, thank you very much. But you can reach out to anybody outside here. But what I can just simply tell you, the word AVO means amplitude variation with offset. When we say offset, you're looking at the distance between your source and your receiver. And in geology or investigating the subsurface, different techniques are being used. From drilling a well, from using aeromagnetic from gravity. One method that is used is seismic, artificial earthquake. So if you're conversant with operations in Niger Delta, when the companies go to go and acquire data, they detonate dynamite. When they detonate that dynamite, it will generate sound wave. The sound wave and the sound signal will travel in every direction, even into the air. So what they do is that they place receivers, which are like your phone you are carrying, your phone. The receivers are detectors. They keep them at a distance from the source. So those signals are generated. Some of them will go into penetrate the subsurface. When they penetrate the subsurface underground, they keep on going. When they meet a different rock unit, maybe they are moving from shale, they are now entering sand. The velocity of the signal in the shale and sand will not be the same. The density of the sand and the shale will not be the same. At that layer, part of that signal will be reflected, just like what you did in secondary school optics, following Snell's law. When they are reflected, they will travel through that unit again until the detector, which your phone will pick it. So we are saying that if we analyze all the signals that are being reflected and look at that point of reflection, that interface where they reflect, so you will see a deflection to the right or to the left. And that's what we call reflectivity. So if we analyze this reflectivity, or otherwise called amplitude, how far the signal is deflected from normal. If we analyze it vis-a-vis the distance between source and receiver over a large area, it can give us idea of the type of fluid we have in the subsurface, whether it is gas or whether it is water, without drilling a well. Because to drill a well, it costs about $20 million. But without drilling a well, by just doing this exercise, you'll be able to see some signature and say, okay, this is gas. We call them direct hydrocarbon indicators. So I think I will just keep it there. I'm not. Am I sure that I was able to, throw some light on what you needed?
I'm getting more light on it. But I will still get more information.
You get more light later. I think this more light is good. This is the light that at the beginning of the tunnel, not at the end of the tunnel. All right.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bernard. We really appreciate your time and your efforts to be here today. We're moving on to vote of thanks, and I would love to call Mr. Oluwaseun Ogundipe to give the vote of thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot, Daniela. I just kept smiling when Dr. Bernard said this is the light at the beginning of the tunnel. Thank you. I mean, a big thank you to Dr. Ebere Bernard. If you can use a reaction, please join me to thank Dr. Bernard for this insightful, wonderful, deep session on AVO. When I approached Dr. Bernard to do this, I mean, it was not far-fetched that he was available to do this for us. As he also mentioned in his introduction, he's been supporting the YP for over about 10 years now. Thank you. A big thank you to you, Dr. Bernard. I came to you to make this request, and without even finishing my sentences, Dr. Bernard said, yes, I mean, I'll do this. And then the conversation started up till today. I want to say a big thank you. Again, thank you so much. It's been very insightful. Thank you to every single person that had also made this very interactive, from the question and answer, from the clarification. I know Mr. Eze Azuka made some comments as well. Thank you so much for those insights. On behalf of the executives, the executives of the young professionals, the young professional arm of NAPE, I want to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Ebere Bernard, for always, particularly for today, chairing this session. It's been very insightful to us, and we really appreciate all of what you've done for us. This is some sort of refresher for some people, and is a new light for some others. But overall, I think it's safe to say that we are all going to go back with something. Thank you so much. Amplitude Variation with offsets and derisking exploration prospects, and then resolving complex field development challenges. Thank you so much. I'll hand over to Daniela to continue this session. Okay, maybe since I'm doing a vote of thanks, sorry, Daniela, let me just add. I mean, I know the president of NAPE was here, Mr. John Bosco Uche F. NAPE. Yeah, I just want to thank him as well for joining this session with us. He's been very supportive, been following this program from when we had started the planning. The executives as well of the YP, thank you to each and every one of you. I think there's something on the announcements I'll be shared later on.
Let me just add here that the winner of the quiz, will be invited for a lunch with me and the president.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the thing is, we've grouped them into 5. There are 5 of them. There are 5 winners. I know during the announcement we'll try to share them. There are 5 of them that, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Bernard, for this. Since we're also on the vote of thanks, I also want to thank the moderator for this session. You've done an excellent work. Thank you very much, Daniela. And to everybody that has participated in this Q&A session, I want to thank you for making it very interactive. We had over 100 people participate in this session. I mean, it's very encouraging. Thank you so much to this community for all the support you've also rendered to the executives and to each and every one of you. I know some people never said anything, but they've been following. I want to say a big thank you. I don't want to start mentioning names, but I see several people on the call as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Daniela, I'll just hand over to you. And thank you again, Dr. Bernard, for doing this. We'll reach out to the winners and then we would plan that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sheon. Thank you for the opportunity to moderate. We'll be moving over to announcements, and Mr. Abioye Banjoko, the Publicity Secretary for NAPE-YP, is meant to handle that.
All right, thank you so much, Ella. Can you help me with the next slide? Yeah, so thank you. So at least we can say that today's session is a success. From the question asked, there was a lot to learn from the section and all that. So thank you once again, everyone. So these are your ESCO, NAPE-YP ESCO. In case you don't know them, see their faces very well. From the YP lead to the deputy lead to welfare to general secretary to publicity myself to the provost and to financial secretary. Next slide, please. Yeah, so now today is one of the events we had for February. So for March now, we are having the charity in the street. So you must have seen the flyers everywhere, and we are also soliciting for your support, financial support now. So I know that this is not an ESCO team. This is like you sending us on an errand, asking us, okay, oh yeah, now you guys should go ahead and do this, or we voted you and all that. So we are soliciting, we are asking that you help us with contributions so we can make this day a success. And you should also look out for a technical series next month, another one like this or sometime. So also a technical workshop, going to the Southwest. So working on that, and we have our leadership series also coming on March. So next slide, please. Yeah, so here's the flyer for NAPE-YP Charity in the Street initiative. So you can imagine, and this is not just about, we need money, yes, but also we want you around also. So please join us as we reach out to, hundreds of students, children and teenagers on the street of Bariga. So if you're in that axis or you're in Lagos, March 1 is the day, 9 a.m., Bariga, Lagos. So we want you to come around while we show love to these children in little way we can. So like I said, we cannot do this alone. So we need your support. So right now, start, opening your bank app and start making some deposits. And if it's to the ending of the month too, we are waiting, please. So kindly assist and let's make this sometime. Next slide, please. Yeah, and also to mention, while you're making the deposits, please, you should also send proof of payment to Olaiton. The details is down there on the flyer. That's a charity on the streets. So now, Abuja chapter. So if you are Abuja chapter member on this call and you are listening, so this is to announce that you have a YP Connect, a virtual hangout and a catch-up. So, and you should know your YP Abuja chapter coordinator, the person of Marietta, that will be Mba. So you should look forward to this. It's going to be an excellent time. So you could just be in your room and be chilling, and you get to meet awesome people like yourself in the industry that are living in Abuja. So now the next slide, please. Yeah, so right now we have some technical business meeting, can call it technical slash business meeting for NAPE. So for North American chapter, which is coming up Wednesday 26th of February this month, and also Warri chapter Friday 28th of February this month also. So you can see the topic on the screen. The first one is unlocking natural hydrogen potential. This is an awesome topic, and I tell you, these speaker are very knowledgeable in this area. They are experts. So you must have been seeing the LinkedIn post, seeing Instagram and all that. I don't just want you to just pass by. I want you to register for this and attend. You understand? It's part of what we do as an association. So when we say, oh, you pay dues and all that, this is part of what you want you to experience in knowledge and in growth. You understand? As we transition, it's good that we all transition together. So next slide, please. Yeah, so also for Port Harcourt chapter, this is March technical business meeting. So we have Tuesday 4th of March. So and we also have for Oka chapter. So you can see the topic there, and it's also Thursday 6th of March. So I want us all to register for this. It's online. It's going to be awesome. For Port Harcourt, it's both online and on site. So you can see the venue here is at Castoni International Hotel and Suites. So please, I want us to attend. And if you can attend physically, fine. If it's online, please, awesome. Please make sure you register before the day. So next slide, please. Yeah, so and here, UK Europe chapter. So the details is still coming on, still coming in. So but we just wanted to share so you have, you get to know that something great is happening in Europe, UK, and yeah, we're also expected to join in this March, Friday, 14th of March. So next slide, please. Yeah, so this is where we all have to now pause and reflect. Have you paid your due this year? So if you have not, so please, student membership is 2,000 naira, active is 12,000. You're a YP member, you're an active member, so it's 12,000. You're an associate, is 12,000. Your corporate member, is 50,000 naira. So the bank details is there. So you can as well reach out to the contact details there, even as you make payments. So please, this is the way we support the association to see it grow and all that. So, and please, if you have not been following us on social media, please don't just see our post and just pass. We want you to engage them. The more you engage, the more people see our post. Look at today now, we have over 100 persons on this group. You understand, on this meeting. So now, next meeting, we want to have more. You understand? Is awesome. We have someone from engineering, field here, and nice question, awesome question. So we want to have more of that. Tell your people, don't keep this information to yourself. Engage the post when you see them on all platforms. So next slide, please. Yeah. So today is the NAPE-YP lead for 2023/2024's birthday, Miss Anusiobi Flora. So we're celebrating her happy birthday, and I want Mr. Sheung to quickly make some commentary and is to celebrate her. Mr. Sheung, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mean, nothing much. I'm trying to look through to see if Flora is on the call, but if not, I know this information will get to her. Flora is the immediate past YP lead. She ran the young professional arm of NAPE for 2023 and 2024 session. Did several tremendous achievements from her tenure. Worked closely with Flora. A lot of the successes that we record today at YP, she's also contributed to that. I mean, on behalf of the YP Excos and the community and the members, we want to, on this day, wish Flora a happy birthday. We pray that the good Lord will continue to bless her, grant the desires of her heart, and bless all that she does. Flora, on behalf of everyone, once again, will say happy birthday to you.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So next slide, please. Yeah, so now, like I said, follow us on all handles, please. Just follow us. Then if you know, just let me just put it this way. So look out on our social handles for the winner of today Q&A. So look out. So I think it's a good time. We've spent quite a time here. So thank you all for joining once again. Over to you, Daniela. Thank you very much. I'm Abioye.
Thank you very much, Abioye. So we have come to the end of this section, and as we wrap up this section, I want to say a very big thank you for your time and your engagement. Thank you, Dr. Bernard, for this section on AVO. Thank you, Mr. Sheung. I found this section very insightful, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in the next technical section and future sections. Have a fantastic day and an amazing weekend. Till then, bye for now.